Okay, so I was saying, I was talking about A. So A is any type of daily volume which is suitable for your need and which is available. Okay, so for example, I don't want to take the average of the whole week. I just want the average of only weekdays because I feel weekdays are more important. Then A will be either AAWT or AWT, whichever is available. Or if I feel that all weeks of the day are same to me, that I may take ADT or AADT, whichever is available. Usually annual averages AADT and AAWT are more preferred than AWT and ADT, because obviously if you have the full data, if you have the data of the whole year, why would you take the lesser one? ADT and AWT is for less than 1 year. Why should I take less than 1 year if I have the full year? Okay, so AADT and AAWT are more preferred, whatever suits you. Okay, and obviously if they are not available, then you go for ADT and AWT, whichever of them is more suitable for the application. And as I said, you multiply them with D and K factors, and these are the D and K factors which depend upon the type of area. And for urban area, then we have different factors for type of highway as well. Now, one thing which I explained yesterday at the end of the class, which was why these factors are decreasing from rural to urban areas. Can someone recall what did I say? From rural to urban areas, these factors are decreasing, K as well as D. What is the reason? Yes, go ahead. Anyone? No one? Why these factors are decreasing when I go from rural to urban? What is the difference between rural to urban areas? Let me make it easier for you. What is the difference between rural and urban areas? What is the main difference between rural and urban areas? Urban areas have more, what, sorry?
The speed.
No, in terms of the area itself, not the highways.
More density.
More density of people, right? More population density. So when you have more population density, then traffic variation becomes less, because traffic then starts to become uniform, and this is the reason that these factors then decrease. Okay, and I will connect it to another parameter later on as well. So keep this point in mind. This point is very important, that urban areas have more population density, so their traffic variation, the traffic is normally smooth in different hours of the day and different directions. So one direction has more or less the same traffic as the other direction. Okay, so the factor becomes close to 50%, you can see. And same thing for the hours as well, that 1 hour has a small variation as compared to the other hours, so the proportion in the peak hour becomes less. Let us look at an example. We have a case of a rural highway which has a 20-year forecasting period. So for 20 years, I have forecasted the AADT to be 30,000 vehicles per day. For the next 20 years, we already forecasted. And this is what I explained yesterday as well, that for forecasting, for future planning, we always use the daily volumes. So here, the daily volume which we are using is AADT. We have to find out the directional design hourly volume, the DDHV volume for this situation, using the factors given in table 5.2. This is table 5.2. Okay, you can see the table number here. So using these factors, you have to calculate DDHV. Now, if you go to the DDHV equation, you take the daily volume multiplied by D and K factors. The highway which is given is a rural highway. Rural highway. So you can see K factor has a range and D factor also has a range. These are ranges. This is not a single factor. So I should, I can use different factors. Within the range, I can use different factors. So in this example, I will use the complete range. Okay. So you can see here, two DDHVs are calculated. One with using the minimum values, 0.15 and 0.25. This is for the K. 0.15 is minimum for K. 0.25 is maximum for K. And then 0.65 and 0.8, which are the minimum and maximum for the D value. Okay, both of them for rural highways. So you can see when I use the minimum values, DDHV, the lowest value is 2,925 vehicles per hour, and the highest value is 6,000 vehicles per hour. Now you can see the difference here. How much is the difference? So one value is less than 3,000, the other value goes to 6,000. So the difference has, the value has doubled. Even in the same range, even for the same type of area, you can have a lot of variation in your design volume. By taking the lower value or the higher values, you can have a lot of change in your design volume. So how do we select the value from the range? Again, it will go back to the point of population density. Okay, if we go back to the concept of population density, so I already told you when population density is higher, the factors should be taken from the lower values of the range. Population density and traffic variation are, inversely proportional. So when population density is higher, you take the lower values from the range. Okay, so if you have a rural area and you feel this rural area compared to other rural areas, obviously you cannot compare rural areas with urban areas. So compared to other rural areas, this area has less population density. Then maybe you can take higher values from the range and vice versa. Okay, but if you don't want to get into this detail about measuring population density and comparing it and so on and so forth, then you can take the mid value. So instead of worrying about whether I should take 0.15 or 0.25, you can take the mid value, which is 0.2. Same thing for the D value as well. Instead of worrying about 0.65 and 0.8, you can take their mid value, which is, I don't know, 0.72 something. So the mid value option is always there, but if you want to go into more detail, then it should be according to the population density, because population density will reduce traffic variation. Okay, then we have the sub-hourly volumes and flow rates of flow. Sub-hourly volume is what I called earlier as the flow. So sub-hourly volume and flow is the same. Sub-hourly volume and flow are the same thing. Okay, so this is the count of vehicles for less than 1 hour. Less than 1 hour. So that's why they call it sub-hourly volume, and that's why I called it flow earlier. And when you have the flow value, you multiply by 4 or something else to convert it to 1 hour. It becomes rate of flow. Okay, so sub-hourly volume and rate of flow are related to each other. Sub-hourly volume is for less than 1 hour. When you convert it to 1 hour, it becomes rate of flow. Now, why this is important? Why should we learn about sub-hourly volume, or why should we consider sub-hourly volume? We have to consider it because within the hour, traffic does not move with the same flow. The rate of flow within the hour is not the same. Okay, so for example, if you observe 6,000 vehicles in 1 hour, that doesn't mean that each 15 minutes had 1,500 vehicles. That doesn't mean like this. Okay, so 6,000 vehicles in 1 hour, if you divide by 60, 6,000 divided by 60, it will give you 100. So did we observe 100 vehicles every minute? No. There were different counts every minute. There were different counts every 15 minutes and every 10 minutes and so on. So traffic fluctuates within the hour. Traffic fluctuates within the hour. We call them short-term fluctuations. Okay, fluctuations within the hour, we call them short-term fluctuations. Long-term fluctuations are from 1 hour to the other hour, from one day to the other day, and so on. So flow, sub-hourly volume and rates of flow are taken so that we have an idea about the short-term sub-hourly fluctuation of traffic. Okay, why this is important? Because if you ignore it, then your facility may face a breakdown meaning congestion, queue. Okay, so your facility may face congestion and queue, traffic jam even before reaching its capacity. Okay, so your facility will not be able to reach its potential capacity if you ignore the sub-hourly fluctuation in your design. Okay, so within the peak hour, you have to consider how the traffic is fluctuating in different time intervals. And if you ignore that, then your facility will not be able to achieve its capacity. Okay, how? Let me show it to you. So we have traffic taken between 5 to 6 p.m. and you can see this hour is divided into 15 minutes interval. So there are 4 values here from 5 to 6 p.m. Each value is for a 15-minute interval. Okay. So what did we call these values? The values are for which are for 15 minutes. What did we call them?
Sub-hourly.
Sub-hourly volume and what else?
Flow.
Flow. Yes. Good. So these are the flow values. Okay. And then they took the summation of these 4 values. So this is the total between 5 to 6 p.m. Total number of vehicles from 5 to 6 p.m. And what do we call it? This 4,200. What do we call it? The total number of vehicles in 1 hour. What do we call it?
The hourly volume.
Hourly volume. Good. Okay. And then when you take each flow value and convert it to 1 hour. So converting to 1 hour means multiply by 4 or divide by 0.25 because it's 15 minutes. So you can either multiply by 4 or divide by 0.25. So these are the rates of flow which are given here. Okay. So in this example, you can see all these 3 things: hourly volume, flow, and rates of flow. All the values are given. Now, let's say this facility was designed exactly for this much volume. The DDHV taken for the design of this facility is exactly 4,200. And you can see here the number of vehicles arriving to the segment is also exactly 4,200. So from what we know up till now, there should not be any problem in passing these vehicles from the segment. These vehicles should pass easily from this segment without any problem, right? 4,200 is the capacity. 4,200 vehicles are coming. They should pass without any problem. Okay, but we did not consider the sub-hourly fluctuation here, and this sub-hourly fluctuation will cause less than 4,200 vehicles to pass. How? Let us see that. But before, tell me, if 4,200 is the maximum number of vehicles passing in an hour, then how much is the maximum number of vehicles passing in a 15-minute interval? What is the maximum number of vehicles that can pass in a 15 minutes interval from this segment? So you divide it by 4, right? How much is it?
1,050.
1,050.
1,050. Okay, so this facility is designed to have a maximum flow in 15 minutes of 1,050 vehicles. Okay, maximum volume of 4,200 vehicles in an hour, but maximum flow of 1,050 vehicles in 15 minutes. And you can see that these flow values, some of them are more than this. Okay, now let us see what will be the effect of them. So in the now we have vehicles arriving, which is the same which I observed from the field. I'm observing from the field, and vehicle departing is the maximum flow you can have from this segment. The maximum 15 minutes flow you can have from this segment, which you calculated to be 1,050. So in the first 15 minutes, 1,000 vehicles are arriving, and the capacity is 1,050. So these 1,000 vehicles will pass without any problem. They are less than the capacity of the road, so they will pass without any problem. In the next 15 minutes interval, 1,100 vehicles come, and 1,050 is still, obviously capacity cannot change. Capacity cannot change. Capacity will remain the same until you change the design of the road. So the capacity is still 1,050. The vehicles arriving are more than capacity. What will happen? Out of 1,100, 1,050 will pass because that is the capacity. The remaining 50 will form a queue. The remaining 50 will be waiting in a queue. Okay, at the start of the facility because they cannot pass. They do not have the chance to pass. So at 5:30 p.m. I will have 50 vehicles in the queue. Okay, then from 5:30 to 5:45, 1,200 vehicles arriving. Capacity is still same. So out of 1,200, 1,050 will pass. So how many left out of 1,200? 150. So these 150 vehicles will add to the queue again. Okay, so 50 vehicles were already in the queue and 150 added out of this 1,200. So total queue is 200. So imagine 200 vehicles in the queue. 200 vehicles in the queue, and you have not yet finished the hour yet. In the next 15 minutes, 900 vehicles arrive. 1050 is the capacity. So 900 and 1050, obviously all these 900 can pass easily. But since this 900 is below capacity, so I have extra space to remove vehicles from the queue. Now there's a chance for vehicles in the queue to move because now they can find their space because the vehicles arriving has reduced. So 900 will pass, okay, and I have extra space left for 150 vehicles. 1050 minus 900 is 150, right? So the extra 150 vehicles space will be utilized by the vehicles in the queue. So from 200 vehicles in the queue, 150 will pass in this 15 minutes interval. Okay, so 200 minus 150 gives you 50. Okay, so the total number of vehicles arriving is 4200. Okay, the same, they haven't changed. The number of vehicles passed should have been 4200, but still 50 are left. So out of 4200, 50 did not pass. So 4200 minus 50 gives you 4150. Now we started with this flow, and with this flow you should achieve 4200 at the end of the hour. But you can see here, how much did you achieve at the end of the hour? 4150. Okay, your capacity for which you designed was 4200, and by which the maximum flow was 1050. But at the end, because of the queue situation, you only passed 4150 vehicles. So you did not reach your capacity of 4200. Okay, so designing for the maximum hourly volume is not a good option. It will always result in the form of a queue in the peak hour. Okay, and you will not be able to pass the vehicles for which you have designed the highway for because of the queue. Okay, and why this queue is there? Because of the sub-hourly fluctuation, as I told you. So you have to consider sub-hourly fluctuation. Now for considering sub-hourly fluctuation, how much interval should we consider within the hour to observe the fluctuation? It is taken as 15 minutes. For design process, for design applications, 15 minutes is taken as a stable and optimum time interval within the hour. Obviously with sensors and with softwares, you can even take time intervals as small as 1 minute as well. But it will result in too much data. So for each hour you will have like 60 values, and then between these values you will have a lot of fluctuation. Okay, so we have fixed a time interval of 15 minutes within the hour. So within the hour we observe traffic flow for 15 minutes interval. Okay, because it is considered as stable and optimum. Okay, it's not too much and not too low. And how do we incorporate it with the design volume? We do it using a peak hour factor, PHF. Okay, so we use the 15 minutes flow and calculation of PHF, and then we divide PHF with the design volume. Okay, how do we use it in the design? I will come back to it later on. But how do we calculate peak hour factor using the volume and the peak flow rate? You can see the equation here. So peak hour factor is the ratio of hourly volume upon peak flow rate. So hourly volume means the total you have for 1 hour, total volume you have for 1 hour. Peak flow rate means take the maximum value and then calculate the flow rate for it. And calculating the flow rate, if it is for 15 minutes, like I said, then flow rate means take this value multiply by 4, or take this value divide by 0.25. Okay, so this will give you the peak hour factor. So V is hourly volume, capital V, and small v m15 means the maximum 15-minute flow you have within the hour. The maximum 15 minutes flow you have within the hour, then multiply by 4 to convert it to flow rate. 15 minutes is the flow, multiply by 4 to calculate the flow rate. Okay. So in the previous example, how much was the volume, total volume, hourly volume? How much was it?
4,200, I think.
4,200. Yes. Okay. And the peak 15 minutes flow, how much?
1,200.
1,200. So 4 multiplied by 1,200 or 1,200 divided by 0.25. Okay, both are correct. Will give the same answer. Okay, so if you do it, you will get a peak hour factor of 0.875. Okay, so this is for the previous example. And now peak hour factor has a range of 1 to 0.25. So it ranges from 1 to 0.25. 1 means what? 1 means all 15 minutes interval had the same value. All 15 minutes flow was the same. All 15 minutes flow rates were the same. That will give you a peak hour factor of 1. Okay, if all 15 minutes intervals have the same flow of vehicles, that will make peak hour factor 1. Okay, so this is an extreme case, very rare. Okay, the other extreme case, the minimum value of peak hour factor is 0.25. Okay, and 0.25 means that only one 15 minutes interval had the flow of vehicles. The other 45 minutes of the hour were having no flow, zero flow. Okay, so you had flow in one 15 minutes interval and the remaining 45 minutes were not having any vehicles. So then you will get a peak hour factor of 0.25. And again, this is very rare. This is very rare. Even 1 can be possible, but 0.25 I don't think it is possible. But theoretically, 0.25 will come up in this manner, or 0.25 can be achieved in this manner if you have all vehicles coming in 15 minutes interval and the remaining 45 minutes are without any flow. Okay. And the reason why I explained this, I'm trying to, although these two values are very, like I said, practically not possible. Practically not possible, both these values. So practically you will have a value which is less than 0.1, which is less than 1, and which is way higher than 0.25. But why I'm explaining this, because you can see the normal ranges here. Normal range for urban areas 0.98, which is close to 1, and normal range for rural areas is 0.7, which is very different from 1. Okay, significantly lower than 1. So why urban areas have more value, a higher value, a value close to 1? Because of the same reason which I told you for K and D factors. Higher population density, higher traffic means less fluctuation within the traffic. So in urban areas or in areas or on highways which have less traffic fluctuation, or which have higher traffic, so traffic fluctuation will be less, peak hour factor tend to be close to 1. Okay, and in rural areas, which is the other case where traffic is low, population is low, then the traffic fluctuation is higher and the factor tends to be significantly lower than 1. Okay. Then we talk about the other macroscopic parameters, which are speed and travel time. So speed, we know speed is related to travel time, right? You want to calculate speed, you do distance upon time. Or if speed is increasing, the travel time is decreasing. Now travel time is defined as the time required to traverse or pass a section of the highway. The time required to traverse or pass a section of the highway. So most of you, or many of you in your term projects, you measured speed using this approach. You fixed a distance and you measured the time of the vehicle to cover that distance, then you calculate the speed. So you know that speed and travel time, how they can be related to each other. Now here we are talking about speed as macroscopic parameter, MACRO, macroscopic parameter. So we are not talking about the speed of one car or one vehicle. We are talking about the average speed of number of vehicles. Okay. Now calculation of average speed can be done in two ways, or there are two types of mean or average speeds. There are two types of mean or average speeds. We call them time mean speed and space mean speed. Time mean speed and space mean speed. What is time mean speed? It's the mean speed of the vehicles which are passing over a point or lane of the highway over a specific time period. Okay, and space mean speed is mean speed of the vehicles which are occupying a given section or lane of the highway over a specific time period. Now you would say both these definitions look the same. I will just point out the difference here, and then I will try to explain it in a manner that you can understand it better. Okay, so the main difference between the two definition is here. This is passing over a point, and this is occupying a given section. Okay. Now let me try to explain you in a simple manner. In time mean speed, okay, you don't have to find out the travel time of the whole section. You don't have to find out the travel time of the whole section. You may do it, you may not do it. You can even take the speed over a point, like they have mentioned here. You can even take the speed over a point. Like some of you did in your term project, you use a mobile app, which I told you, the speed gun, and you measured the speed over a point. So you did not cover the whole section, right? The speed which you measured at that point may not remain the same throughout the section. Okay, so that speed was only for that point. So you took speeds, over a point or a particular distance of the highway. Okay, any distance of the highway, any. Okay, it can be equal to the length of the section. It may not be equal to the length of the section. But if you are calculating time and speed, this is not important. So you calculate the speed, or you found the speed using a device for number of cars and number of vehicles, and you took the mean. That will be timing speed. Okay, there's a difference in the calculation as well, which I will show you in the next slide. Okay, so even if you take the distance equal to the length of the section, it will still not be called as space mean speed. Okay, because there's a difference in the calculation as well. Then we have a space mean speed if you are calculating. So in space mean speed, your travel time should belong to the whole section. Your travel time should be the whole section. So you cannot measure speeds over a point and then calculate space mean speed. It is not possible. So for space mean speed, the length over which you will measure the travel time should be the length of the section. Should be. Okay. So this is the main difference between time mean speed and space mean speed. Okay. Now let me show you the calculations here. TMS, time mean speed. SMS, what? Short messaging service, right? No, space mean speed. Okay. So you can see there's a slight difference in the calculation of TMS and SMS. In TMS, we are taking the summation of speed of individual vehicles and dividing by number of vehicles. N is the number of vehicles for which you measured the speed. Okay, for which you measured the speed. So D can be different for each vehicle. Or instead of doing D upon T, you can simply replace it with the value of S. If you have used a speed gun or a speed camera, then you don't have to do D upon T, right? You can simply put the value of speed. So it will be speed of individual vehicles, and you take the summation divided by N. Okay. So D is not important here. D is not important here. Each vehicle can have a different D, or you can directly put the value of speed here instead of D upon T. But in terms of SMS, you see a constant D here in the numerator. So this D is what? This D is the total length of the section. Okay. So in your case, I did not specify which length of the section you should take and how much should be the length of the section. So everybody took D as their own will and as per their own convenience, right? Somebody took in the middle of the section, somebody took it 90 meters, somebody took it 100 meters. So you were calculating basically TMS. You were not calculating SMS. Okay. So if I told you that you have to consider the full length of the section, and you can only calculate the speed in the full length of the section. So D will be equal to length of the section, and it will not change for any vehicle. And then you cannot use speed gun or any other device. Okay, and then you will just for that section you will find out the travel time. Okay, and then you will take the average of the travel time in the denominator. Okay, so the travel time is changing for each vehicle. D is the same. Okay, but even for TMS, D can be same. It is not fixed. D can be length of the section or a part of the section. D can be same for all the vehicles, or D can be different for all the vehicles. It does not matter. But for SMS, D should be length of the section. Okay, so even if D is length of the section for TMS, this calculation will make it different from SMS. Even if you put D as the length of the section, it will not be the same as SMS. Okay, it will make it different from SMS because of the calculation. Let us look at an example here. So speed of 6 vehicles have been observed using travel time, and for all these vehicles the distance was 1000 feet. So distance was kept the same, and they observed travel time for each vehicle. Okay, and then they have calculated, you can see, for each vehicle this is the individual speed. 1000 d upon t, right? 1000 is the distance, t is the travel time for this vehicle, this is the speed. Okay, so you keep on changing the travel time, you are getting different values of speed. In the end, they take the summation of all the speeds and then divide by 6, which is the number of vehicles. You get the average speed. Now, which average speed is this? This 50.6. Is it TMS or SMS? You took the summation of individual speeds and then you took the average. So the speed which is calculated in this manner, is it TMS or SMS?
TMS.
TMS. It is TMS.
TMS.
Yeah, it is TMS. For SMS, distance will remain the same, 1000 feet. Okay, and then I will divide it with the average of the travel time. So you see, summation of the travel time 119 seconds divided by 6, which is the number of vehicles, and you get 19.8. So 1000 divided by 19.8 will give you the SMS. Okay, now you can see here, like I said, even if you have the same distance, you can still calculate TMS and SMS differently by using the two different equations. Okay, so 50.6 is calculated using the equation of TMS, and 50.4 is calculated using the equation of SMS. Obviously, if you did not measure travel time, then you cannot calculate SMS, right? SMS requires travel time. Now, you can see TMS 50.6, SMS 50.4. I use the same vehicles, same distance, same travel time. Still, you see the values are not the same exactly. Okay, and this is not by chance. TMS and SMS are always different from each other. TMS and SMS are always different from each other, and SMS is usually lower than TMS. SMS is usually lower than TMS. Space mean speed is usually lower than time mean speed. Okay, always. Even if you take everything same, space mean speed will always be lower than time mean speed. Okay, why? Because space mean speed gets more effect from slow moving vehicles. The slow moving vehicles have higher effect on space mean speed as compared to time mean speed. Okay, so that's why space mean speed is always lower than time mean speed. For traffic flow analysis, we use space mean speed. So in the remaining part of this chapter, I will be talking about space mean speed. Time mean speed will be used. It has some other applications, and we will discuss it in the later chapters. Okay, chapters which will come after this. But in this chapter, where we are discussing about traffic flow analysis, we will focus on space mean speed. So whenever I say speed in the remaining analysis, I will basically mean space mean speed. Okay. Now there is a theoretical scenario in which both of them can be equal. Theoretical, because obviously once I explain it, you will know that it is not possible. What is that scenario? If all drivers maintain their speed from start to end of the section. If all drivers maintain their speed from start to end of the section. Okay, whatever their speed was at the start of the section, they keep it the same till the end. Then in that case, space mean speed and time mean speed will be exactly equal. Okay, and you know that this cannot happen. Huh? You have a section which is 500 meters, 600 meters, and then you are talking about maintaining the same speed in the whole 500 meter section. Obviously, each driver has a different speed than the other driver, but we are talking about his own speed will not change. So if it was 50, it will remain 50 till the end. You know, all of you must be having driving licenses. This is not possible, right? It's not possible to maintain for all the drivers. Okay, one driver can be very smart, he can be very skillful, but for all the thousands of drivers to maintain the same speed from start to end and driving with each other, it's not possible. It's not possible. So, like I said, TMS and SMS is very unlikely to be equal. Okay, now we will talk about the third macroscopic parameter, which is density. Traffic density is very similar to density of a material. How do you define the density of a material? If I ask you define density of a material, how do we define it?
Mass over volume.
Mass over volume. Okay, so mass over space. Mass over space. In case of traffic density, mass is mass of vehicles, number of vehicles, and space is length of the road. Okay, so density, traffic density is number of vehicles over the length of the road. Number of vehicles over the length of the road. Length of the highway or a lane, you can say, okay, I will only measure density for a lane. Even with the speed, you can see the speed or the volume. In all these cases, we were saying highway or the lane, section or the lane. So you can fix any of these parameters for a lane. You can say, okay, I will only do the calculation for one lane. You can fix it like this. Okay, so density, volume, speed, all these things can be for one lane as well. Okay, same thing. So density can be number of vehicles occupying a length of the highway or a lane, and that length is normally 1 mile or 1 kilometers. In Bahrain we use kilometers, in USA they use miles. So density is vehicles per mile or vehicles per mile per lane. If you are fixing a lane, then density will be vehicles per mile per lane. So you want to know how many, or density is the number of vehicles which are in 1 mile length of the highway, or number of vehicles which are in 1 kilometer length of the highway or length of a lane. So you can imagine it is very difficult to measure it directly from the field. Density is very difficult to be measured directly from the field. Why? Because vehicles are moving. Vehicles are moving. So how can I measure density? How can I count the number of vehicles in a given length of the highway if they are not remaining constant? So I start counting. So once I reach the end of the highway, the number is different now. Once I reach the end of the mile, the number has completely changed. Vehicles which were in the front have already gone, and the vehicles which I am counting at the end, they are just coming, they are just entering the highway. They are not the same. They are not the same number of vehicles when I started the count. Okay, so measuring density is very difficult. Now with modern techniques, we have sensors. Even with sensors, you can go to the textbook. They have given an equation to be used with the sensor. So even with the sensor, you have to use some equation to calculate density. You can use satellite images, but then they have to be very accurate. Okay, satellite images should be real time and very accurate to measure the density. You can use drone cameras or any other overhead camera. Again, they should be high resolution and without any obstruction. No trees or no heavy vehicles covering the other vehicles. So irrespective of the advancement in the technologies or advancements in the technology, you still find density very difficult to be measured. So what do? We calculate density using speed and flow. The easiest thing to do. We have equations in which you can put the value of speed and flow and you can calculate density. Okay, this is the easiest thing to do. Measuring speed and density, not a problem. You have done it yourself. You have already done it, right? In the first submission of the project, you already did calculation of speed and density, speed and flow. So if I give you the equation, you can easily tell me the speed of your highway. You can easily tell me the density of your highway because you already have the flow and speed. Okay, so you take two simple parameters and calculate the difficult one. Now, why density is important? Why do we go into the calculations to find out density? Density is important because of these three main reasons here. Okay, there are other reasons as well, but these are the three main reasons here. Okay, the first reason is it is directly related to the demand of the highway. If you have more demand of the highway, that means more cars and more vehicles will be on the highway. So in that case, obviously density will be higher. Density high means demand is high. Simple. Density affects the selection of the speed of the drivers, and speed affects the flow. So for example, if you have a highway, on this highway, let's say the density is low right now. So on the whole segment, I have only 2 vehicles. So 2 vehicles per length of the highway will be very low. So since these drivers have more spacing between them, more gap between them, they will be going at higher speed. They will be going at high speed. But what will happen if I add or two more vehicles come on the same segment? So now instead of four or two vehicles, you have four vehicles which are traveling together. So then the gap between the vehicles will become less. And since the gap is less, their speed will be slower. Okay, so you can see the speed directly as a function of density. So when the speed gets lower, the flow will be less as well. Okay, so density affects speed. It increases or decreases it. Okay, inversely proportional to speed. And then we have density also affects the quality of flow in terms of driver comfort and freedom to maneuver. And you can take the same example for it. When the gap between the drivers is higher, you feel more comfortable. When the gap between you and the other vehicles is higher, you feel more comfortable. When the vehicles are close to each other, then the driver feels less comfort, and obviously your freedom to maneuver, you want to change your lane, you want to take a turn, you want to get into the shoulder, then it will become more difficult for you because then you have to wait for the gap. You have to wait for the chance, and you may have to request the other driver to give you the chance. They may not be so good to give you the chance to, to move or to do your maneuver. So your freedom to maneuver and comfort level decreases with the increase in density. So since density is affecting so many things, that's why it's important. That's why we calculate it. And later on, in the last chapters of this course, you will see how to use density to find out some other parameters. Okay. So this is the end of macroscopic parameter. Now we will start the discussion of microscopic parameters. We not started today, but just to explain, there were three parameters: speed of individual vehicles, spacing, and headway. Spacing and headway are for pair of vehicles. Okay. Speed of individual vehicles again obviously is for individual vehicle, but we will not discuss it again because we already know about it, and we already seen it when we were calculating the mean speeds, SMS and TMS. We already saw how to calculate the speed of individual vehicles, so we don't have to discuss it again. This is very basic, and we don't need to discuss. So I will just discuss spacing and headway as microscopic parameters. Okay, but I will do it tomorrow, inshallah. Okay, I'm going for the attendance. Hissa Ahmed and Ali Khalil. Ali is here. Okay. Qusay Ahmed and Yusuf Ahmed Nidam.
Yes, Doctor.
Yes. Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor Yusuf.
Hawra Nasir and Ali Muhammad. Okay. Sadiq Abdul Hussain. Okay. Balkis Hamad and Hala Munir. Okay, Hala Munir. Not here. Umar Walid and Abdul Rahman Muhammad. Okay, Abdul Rahman is here. Umar Walid. Not here. Sara Ali. Okay. Muntazir Hussain and Saleh Mehdi. Saleh Mehdi. Okay. Ahmad Muhammad Mahdi and Sayyid Hassan. Ahmad Muhammad Sayyid. Okay. Sara Khamis and Zainab Ali Ahmed. Zainab. Okay. Maria Khalifa. Section 1. Mahmoud Isa. Okay. Rosen Bukhari. Okay. Mahmoud Isa. Rosen Bukhari. Huda. Okay. Okay. Sarah Ali Kadindra, I didn't mark you. I will check, okay? Otherwise, you can leave. Okay. Sarah, I will check for you. Everybody else can leave.